Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Interim Joint Committee on Economic Development and Workforce Investment. This is our fourth meeting. I want to remind everyone some housekeeping here. Please be sure, audience members and committee members, please be sure to silence your phones at this time. Does any member seek recognition at this point to recognize guests? Okay, seeing none, we'll get rolling. Sasha, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Here. Senator Funke Fromeyer.
Present.
Senator Girdler. Here. Senator Howell. Here. Senator Maiden. Senator Nunn. Senator Thomas. Senator Wilson.
Here.
Senator Wise. Senator Yates. Representative Bowling. Representative Callaway. Representative Duvall.
Here.
Representative Elliott. Representative Gentry. Representative Griffey.
Here.
Representative Grossel. Representative Huff. Representative Jackson.
Present.
Representative King.
Present.
Representative Kulkarni. Representative Lawrence. Representative Lehman.
Here.
Representative Lockett.
Here.
Representative Payne.
Here.
Representative Sharp. Representative Tackett Lafferty. Representative Truitt. Co-Chair Wheeler. Here. Co-Chair Branscombe.
Here. Thank you, Sasha. We will move on to the second item on our agenda, which is the Kentucky Recovery Vocational Workforce Reimagined. If you all could go ahead and come to the table. And all presenters, please be sure that you pull the microphone close to you, and there will also be a green light. Hit the button, make sure the green light's on so that we can hear you. If you could, go ahead and state your name for the record.
My name is Jarek DeVore, and I'm the Executive Director for Kentucky Recovery Vocational Workforce and Reentry Incorporated.
All right. Jarek, thanks for being here this morning, and if you have any guests you want to recognize as well.
And so today with me I have Scott Wells. He is the President of our Board of Directors, and Dustin Popplewell, which is the Vice President of Operations for the Recovery Center, the Spark Recovery Center.
Okay. Floor is yours.
And so first I want to say thank you, Mr. Chairman, and our distinguished members of this committee for giving me the opportunity this morning to share about the work that we're doing in the area of workforce, substance use, and vocational training. Move up through slides here. And so just quickly, Kentucky Recovery Vocational is a vocational training center that is located in Russell Springs, Kentucky. And although both of our centers there, our manufacturing training center and our welding academy are both located in Russell Springs. Last year in 2024, we were able to have students from 112 of the counties throughout Kentucky. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are a manufacturing skills standards commission training site. We also provide that manufacturing skills standards for our veterans as a testing site. We're a NOCTI testing site as well, and we also are a provider for You're Ready for Industry certificates. We are board governed. We have a great group of board leadership that has a proven record for workforce development experience, financial responsibility, and recovery treatment. Those consist of Scott Wells, that is the owner and CFO of Spark Recovery, Daryl McGahey, which is the board president of the Southern Kentucky Economic Development Board, Stephen Fletcher, which is the president of First National Bank of Russell Springs, and Lisa Gosser, the former Lake Cumberland Area Development District Business Service Team Lead. Really, our vision is twofold. We exist to help individuals that are suffering from substance use disorder, they are in recovery, become healthy, skilled, and employable. In that effort, we also seek to activate that opportunity population to meet the workforce needs of Kentucky. We do that by collaborating with substance use disorder treatment, recovery efforts to be able to offer a holistic approach to the individuals to be able to make them work ready. We are also teaching industry-recognized vocational skills, connecting participants to meaningful employment. And the result of that is activating an opportunity population to meet the workforce needs of Kentucky. The fact of the matter is that our population is struggling to gain employment. The individuals in recovery, their unemployment rate throughout the state is 3 times higher than that of other citizens. Formerly incarcerated individuals have an even worse opportunity at employment, as their unemployment rate is 27%. And Kentucky has made great progress at addressing substance use disorder, and I want to thank all of you for the efforts that have been made in that area. Really, Kentucky leads the nation in our proactive approach to substance use disorder. But it is probably not a surprise to any of you that we still have an issue with illicit drugs, and there is still that issue that is facing Kentucky. The Justice and Safety Cabinet reported that there were 217,000 Kentuckians that received recovery services during 2024. There are an additional 37,000 Kentuckians that are incarcerated in our state at any given time. 64% of those are suffering from substance use disorder based on the DSM-5 criteria. And so at the same time, there is a great opportunity for employment throughout the state of Kentucky. There are right now, based on the August jobs reports, around 105,000 jobs. And we believe that the population that we serve can fill the employment gap that Kentucky has in those employment opportunities. The answer has been for a long time that individuals in this population, if they get a job, that they would be able to overcome the obstacles in their lives and their barriers. But the fact of the matter is, I believe that just getting a job is not enough. Just getting a job doesn't cure a substance use disorder. Getting a job can fund a habit. And so we're providing individuals with training adjacent to recovery. And so with those two combined, we give an opportunity for an individual to have the services that they need combined with the skills that they need to be able to be employable and gain meaningful employment. And we have been able to do that successfully. Our process for getting an individual trained begins with treatment. And so we have partnered with Spark Recovery to be able to work together with them to be able to treat the disease of substance use disorder. At the 90-day mark in that treatment, we begin to provide vocational training. We believe that, and through our experience, that this is the appropriate amount of time for a person to to receive training. They are at a point in their life at that point where they are in reset mode to be able to learn and be able to go into a work setting and be successful. And so we have tried it several different ways. We went 30 days into recovery to see if a person would be successful in employment. Really, that wasn't very successful, and our retention rates were low. We increased that to 60-day mark. That too was better but not great. 90 days into recovery is where we found the sweet spot of having a person trained to be able to go into the workplace. And I think we can all agree that an individual that is 90 days sober is going to be able to be much more successful in the stresses of life and coping with the world around them than a person that is 90 days. A part of what we do is a continued relationship with treatment. And so as they continue to work, they are still offered services to be able to be successful in that realm. They are receiving case management and clinical support to be able to continue to be able to have the skills that they need and the treatment that they need to be successful in the job. And so for an additional 90 days, they are receiving those supports while they are working to be able to make sure that they are capable of truly being successful. And we found that to be an extremely important piece. I can't stress enough how important it has been for us to work adjacent to a recovery center to be able to make sure that a person that receives the training is going to be successful in the training that we provide. We did labor market research to be able to determine in the Lake Cumberland area what jobs were of the highest demand and also required short-term training. From that, we were able to determine that two really career fields were stuck out in our minds, those being certified production technician certificates and metal inert gas or MIG welding training. The certified production technician training is an industry recognized credential It is an accredited credential through the Manufacturing Skills Standards Commission. It is accredited with ISO and IEC. It is a 3-week in-person hands-on training that prepares an individual for a job as a machine operator, a frontline factory worker, to be able to be successful. In addition to that, we began providing welding training. And our welding training is an industry standard training certificate. It is a 5 weeks live and augmented reality training, and it also provides on-the-job training and job placement. So what have we done so far? And so in 2024, through an opioid abatement grant, we partnered with Spark Recovery to be able to do a pilot to be able to see the success rate for this effort. What we are hoped for came to fruition, and you can see from the numbers of what we've been able to accomplish so far. So in our pilot year, we enrolled 167 students. 145 of those received that CPT, that Certified Production Technician credential, with an 86.8% pass rate. The test average for that, which it is a non-biased NOCTI testing procedure with a NOCTI certified proctor for that exam that requires a 75% or higher grade to be able to receive that credential. Our test average was 85.9%. I'm very proud of that number because the national average for that credential, which is offered in high school settings and community colleges across the nation, the national average is 85%, and our numbers beat even those areas of those institutes of learning. We were able in that same amount of time to have job placements for 142 individuals. Those 142 individuals were placed in manufacturing settings. This year so far, as we continued that partnership with Spark, seeing that the success of its first year, we have so far year to date enrolled 125 students. Our students that were certified were 114 with a 91.2% pass rate. Again, we increased our test average, and our job placement rate was 108, and we are on track to beat our 24 numbers for our pilot. Altogether, our totals, we have had 292 students, 259 certificates, and 250 individuals placed into employment. And if you know, as Mr. Chairman knows, Russell Springs is a pretty small city. And 250 individuals in that workforce area is a significant impact for our manufacturers in our area. Our Kentucky Recovery Vocational Welding Academy opened in May of 2025. It is a welding industry partnership, and so we partner together with Stevens Pipe and Steel and Tartar USA to be able to provide a training that met their needs. So we went to those two different manufacturers to see exactly what they needed their welders to know. They saw that we were passionate about the work that we were doing, and both of those companies are supplying the steel that's needed to train our welders to be able to go to work in their factories. They are even inviting us in to be able to train on their equipment to be able to get them jobs directly out of the training. We have so far trained 17 welders, and all of those have been placed in those factories to be able to continue to do that work. I'll say this, and I wanted to make sure that I was conscious of time and respectful of y'all's time. I know you've got a busy agenda, but I'll say this in closing. I've been in workforce development for most of my career. I have been a part of state and national initiatives for workforce development. I know the environment. And Kentucky Recovery Vocational is not a rebranding of the same thing. It's not a duplication of services that is being provided by other institutions. What we are doing at Kentucky Recovery Vocational is plowing new ground. We are providing opportunities for a population that has potential. We are providing training and support for them in their disease to be able to continue to make sure that they are successful in this environment. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity to share what we are doing in this effort. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Jarek, thank you for being here today, and great presentation. I appreciate that. We always love seeing the numbers
Sure.
of the success and what you guys have done. I'm very familiar with the program.
Yeah.
But what you all have done in just the short amount of time that you've been going is very impressive, and really appreciate you showing that to the members here today. Co-Chair Wheeler.
Thank you, Chair Branscombe. And yes, this is a very impressive presentation, and I appreciate what you all are doing. I guess my question goes a little bit towards the funding mechanism. You know, in my district, we have addiction recovery care that's operated, and I know you know, they've had some struggles lately, but at one point in time, they were operating many vocational rehabilitation programs. They had an auto mechanics garage. They had a welding class. They've partnered with Toyota Tacoma to get some folks over there. One of the problems I think they ran into was that at least from what I understand, none of these programs made money, and they were dependent, I guess, on a cash flow from the recovery portion in order to finance the education portion. You know, as unfortunately, like many things, was dependent on Medicaid and that type of stuff. As that goes up and down, and it seems like it's down lately, they had to shutter some of those programs. How have you all been able to fund your education programs? What sources of funding have you found in order to continue operating?
So thank you, Mr. Wheeler. So as stated before, we did utilize some opioid abatement grant funding in the pilot phase of that. We have since then relied on donor contributions to be able to provide this. And I think a large part of that is Spark Recovery's efforts to continue to invest in individuals that they're providing care for. It wouldn't happen without that investment that they make back into a client. They are, you know, for lack of a better word or statement, funding the bill to be able to make sure people are successful. I think they have the desire for an individual to be able to be back on their feet and be a successful part of the community. I think we will be looking to apply for the next round of opioid abatement grant funding to be able to supplement that. I think that there are also some other funding mechanisms through 1915I, possibly to be able to continue that work. You know, one of the things that I think that I would say that I'm passionate about is an individual in recovery doesn't need the additional barrier of debt. Sure. And so up to this point, we have not required any individuals of those 150 participants to pay the first dime to be able to get that education and be able to have the job placement. And that's the passion of what we are as a nonprofit, to be able to provide this service to them, because I believe that they deserve it.
What, you might have a brief follow-up. Does that mean you all are seeing some similar difficulties in funding as well, due to you know, maybe some of the treatment folks not getting as much reimbursement from some of these MCOs and the like?
It's a difficult environment in that, I think.
Okay.
I think that we do need additional funding to be able to continue our efforts, and if we scale this across the state, which is our plan, there will be the need for funding in the future.
Do you all have any soft skills type things as well? Because I mean, I know a conversation I've had many times that, you know, and I get it, it's a free country, you can do whatever you want. People have different opinions like this, sure. But you know, it does provide a little bit of a barrier to recovery when somebody comes in with nose piercings, you know, 15 earrings in their face with a bunch of jailhouse tattoos on it. I mean, if you're running, for example, like me, a law office, that's not necessarily, I mean, I don't do criminal law, so, I mean, maybe that would be a good prop in the front office if I was doing that, but from the standpoint of you know, a typical country practice, that's not necessarily what I want to have out in the lobby. Have you all looked at doing that at all, to kind of maybe discuss some of the things that you can make yourself more employable by, you know, they used to say dress for success, that people in lower classes used to try to look a little bit better, go buy a nice suit as an entry and to do a good interview and get a job. Nowadays, you know, everybody shows up like a bum with their pants halfway down their legs, showing their butt crack and things. And, you know, obviously I think that's been a big problem as well.
Yeah, and thank you for those comments. We do provide that soft skill training. It is a part of the curriculum for a certified production technician, and so they are given a number of different skills on communicating with supervision, being able to be an appropriate part of a team in a manufacturing setting, and so there are a lot of those efforts that are a part of that curriculum. I would also say that we have job coaches that work directly with an individual to be able to make sure that they are, if they have any questions in moving forward. Sometimes your supervisor may respond to you in a way that you need some coaching. And so we have job coaches to be able to provide that service.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your answers.
All right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 more members seeking recognition. So, Senator Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation today. I'm going to follow up a little bit on this. Is there a component in there? I know you have integrated recovery services. Is there a component in there to track? I know you're in year 2, so you haven't had a long track record, but a lot of things we see is people do well for a little bit of time, and as the guardrails around them and the external support around them starts to fall away as they move through this process, then they become more vulnerable to a relapse, this sort of thing. Have y'all got any tracking in to where you follow some of your students down the line, 2, 3, 4, just to see where there'll be gaps that maybe we can identify where we need to put more services around?
Yeah. And so right now for that period of time, we don't have a mechanism. I think that we've looked at mechanisms to be able to do that. And there are some tech opportunities to be able to do that. DAZOS is a very good tracking program to get that information. And basically an alumni tracking system. I would say for the retention rates, having the ability to be able to continue to provide services for them for 90 days after they are employed allows us the opportunity to be able to make sure that they are successful for that period of time. We do know that we have people that have been in our care and have been provided support for 2 years. And so we have a retention rate that is definitely, I believe, is keeping them at least 90 days plus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Senator Boswell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'm very impressed with the numbers you have here. And the one thing that you said I think was very, very important for this committee and for us as a legislature, that sweet spot that you're talking about the 90 days. Mm-hmm. When I found that we have so many groups that are helping people, but they're just doing it sometimes for 30 days. That's not going to get the job done. I think you're making an excellent point there. The one thing, though, that I think that's continuing to be a problem is the accessibility to drugs. Mm-hmm. I understand there's a report coming out from the University of Kentucky about a lot of products that are on the market currently in our grocery stores. Some of them are liquid products, some of them are vaping products, and a large number of these continue to have THC in them. And this is one of the biggest problems I've seen in this whole thing is getting people, cutting the supply off. So no matter how much you do, if these products are so readily available to these people, it just makes your job even so much. I appreciate what you're doing. Last comment was, do you have any idea what the cost is per student that's gone through your program, just roughly?
Sure. And so I think it costs about $2,000 per participant to be able to provide that training for them. I think that's probably a conservative estimate on what it would cost to be able to train someone with either of those.
Well, I think you answered everybody's questions because everybody said they're good now. Really appreciate you being here today, and appreciate you and Spark and you guys being here. Yes. And members, if you have any questions or want to follow up, go ahead and send those to staff, and we'll get those to you. And if you could answer those, we'd appreciate it. But thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have an update on college athletics and Senate Bill 3. If you all can make your way up. And members, as they're making their way up, now that we do have a quorum, can we get a motion to approve the minutes? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. And a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Want to remind you guys too, make sure the mics are closed, green lights are on, and if you could, state your names for the record.
Josh Hurd, Athletic Director at the University of Louisville.
Mitch Barnhart, Athletic Director at the University of Kentucky.
Well, thank you all for being here today, and we'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. I'll start here, and Chairman Branscombe, Chairman Wheeler, thanks so much for having us. I want you to know that I did put a tie on for you this morning based on your previous comments. But also want to recognize Senator Wise for the adjustments relative to the state legislation around NIL. And I think that's where I'll start, just by saying that I think what the state of Kentucky has done has worked relative to how we're trying to guide college athletics into this new realm of NIL and the transition from, call it, amateurism to a more professional model, quite frankly. But I think the thing that the state has done really well is we've not tried to, as Mitch and I have talked about, we've not tried to lead the race to the bottom, quite frankly. We've said, what are the changes that need to be made? What are the changes relative to the House settlement that's been approved? And let's make sure that we try to stay within that realm, as opposed to trying to create a competitive advantage, which I know has happened in a number of states. So for that, thank you. As far as NIL and how our industry is transitioning, a couple of updates. One of the things in the state bill was that we have to report all of the deals. Our student athletes actually have to report all the deals, and the House settlement requires any deals over $600 to be approved. And so there's a mechanism called NIL Go that allows our student athletes to register in there and report the deals. And we have 521 of our student athletes that have signed up for NIL Go. We have about 240 deals that have been approved through NIL Go. So from that standpoint, I think it's that piece of it's working. And I also think that deals are being created through a true marketplace, quite frankly. And I think that's another big component that we need to get our arms around, is making sure that these deals are true NIL deals, as opposed to just quite honestly just deals that are made up as far as getting money to student athletes above the $20.5 million cap. So trying to work through that. Obviously, more than willing to answer any questions around the federal legislation that has been introduced, because I'm sure there'll be some questions around that. But for us at the University of Louisville, just continuing to try to figure out how we navigate the most sizable changes that this industry's ever seen. And I do think that we are doing a pretty good job of that relative to the success that we're having on the field, the pool, the track, whatever it may be, as far as making sure that we're protecting women's sports, Olympic sports, making sure that we're graduating student athletes. Our graduation rate last year was the highest it's ever been at 93%. So just some opening comments there, and turn it over to Mitch here.
Josh, thanks. Appreciate it. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you. It's always good to be with you. Leader Wise, thank you for your efforts. And Chairman Branscombe, thanks so much for your help with SB3. As Josh said, it's made a difference for us as we begin to sort of establish the foundation for this new world that we're in. We continue to be committed to ensuring our student athletes have the best opportunities that they can in the competitive marketplace that we're in, to have an opportunity to represent Kentucky the way we want to be represented. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Josh. We work closely together on a lot of things. We were talking about competitive stuff back there in the corner, about our teams have competed against each other the last couple of weeks in a couple of sports, but on stuff like this we come together and try and find a way to put college athletics and the future of college athletics first in what we do. And so I appreciate his friendship in that. Core message, obviously, the House settlement was approved in February, and it was actually implemented in July of this year. So obviously that was the start point for what we had, and everyone looked to that moment of July 1 when the clock started in the new world that we're in. The summer began, transformation began, staffs changed, and as we were again visiting the back, we created an entire cottage industry for NIL. All of a sudden there is this new world that we're in, and a lot of people are trying to get in because they see this as a fast way to access college athletics, student athletes, get to coaches, those kind of things. So it's been a fascinating time for sure, but I think we've been able to strategically put together our NIL platform through BBNIL. It has been really well done. It's through our multimedia partner of JMI, working with them and making sure that we're well coordinated to make sure that our the people that are currently in our program have an opportunity to work closely with us without violating the workarounds that Josh alluded to in this settlement and the things that are so important to what we're doing. It's been a fast-paced 4 months or 3 months since July 1, obviously, but we thank you for the foresight that you had to put SB3 in. It has been something that a lot of folks have tried to emulate, but suffice it to say it's been really, really difficult to get a consistent footprint across the country. It has become patchwork lawmaking across the country, and that is difficult. The SCORE Act, which you've heard a little bit about that's being talked about in Washington, D.C., is active. It will come up again in October. There will be an opportunity for us to try and put guardrails around what is going on in college athletics. That would be super helpful to us. As we sit here and navigate this space, it would be super helpful. Does it answer all the questions? Does it make everything right? In perfect world, no, it's not. But it does give us a foundation and some guardrails to begin to work our way through to get everyone sort of on the same page of the things that we're working our way through. It's bipartisan support. It has reached that spot. Do we have complete pathway to get it passed? Not yet. We're working on that. And our commissioners in our leagues, the ACC, the SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, working closely together to try and get that done. So that's been very, very good. But to be clear, we've had great support. I think what the misnomer in all of this for Josh and for me is this notion that for all this time that college athletics has not done anything to support their student athletes. I don't think there could be anything further from the truth. We've given great medical care. We've given great opportunities for post-eligibility scholarship completion of degrees. That happens all the time. That is not new to us. You talk about academic support and the things that we do. His graduation rate of 93%, we're right there. We're at the same spot. We're at 93% as well. And so to this notion that we're just bringing student athletes in and they are not going to finish the deal is not true. That is not true. We have suffered a little bit in loss of opportunity. So the new rules of the House settlement with the roster limitations, we had 675 student athletes in our program. As the settlement came in and they put new roster limits in, we were reduced to 530. We lost 145 opportunities for young people in our program. And that was not by our choice. That was by settlement choice. That happened. I can't speak to what Josh has happened. I didn't like that at all. That did not feel good to me. We didn't cut sports, but our rosters were trimmed. And so that had an effect on us. That took students out of the University of Kentucky. It also took students out of our program. And the depth and the ability to maintain depth in our athletic programs has been challenged, to be bluntly honest with you. And so that's been a challenge for us. But this notion that we have not done a good job of taking care of our student athletes on our campuses is absolutely untrue, and that is not myth backed up by any fact in any way, shape, or form. And I will speak for Josh on that. I know he does a phenomenal job with his student athletes, and I think we do as well in terms of protecting their interest and taking good care of them. We do a good job of that. And so that is something we're going to have to continue to work our way through on a national level. And I'll close with a couple other things, just saying that the vision as we continue in this new era of college athletics hasn't changed. I think what we get hung up with a lot of times is this: it's a business first, mission second. And I would argue, and I've said it all along, and I will continue to pound the drum, if you put business ahead of mission, you got a real problem. Our mission is rings on fingers and diplomas in hands. It's as simple as that. That does not change. We want to win championships. We want to represent this Commonwealth incredibly well. That's important to us. We want to graduate young people, to put them in the workforce that you just talked about. That kind of stuff, we want them in the workforce. And that is really, really important to us. And we do that at a high level. I met last night 2 alumni in our program at our volleyball match last night that came back that, and you know you've been around a long time, when they're now coming around with their children, and that's bothersome to some degree. But she showed up in our program. She played for us in 2002 through 2005 when I first came to Kentucky. She's got a 10-year-old and twin 6-year-olds. She was one of our first Miss Wildcats, which is a top honor we can give in our program. She told me where she was in Cincinnati and the things that she was doing. Fascinating to hear the success stories of the young people coming through our program. So I don't want to get caught up in this notion that we're just a factory for producing young people to come out of here and go be great athletes. We do that. We're very good at creating really, really great athletes. We're also really, really good at creating really, really strong business leaders, really strong mothers and fathers and family members and teachers and leaders. That's what we're really good at. That's what college athletics does incredibly well. And so I'm super, super thankful and super passionate about that. And I want to make sure we understand that. The last thing I would say is, as Coach Pope says over and over again, when you put on this jersey, it is a sacred piece of cloth, and it represents something far greater than yourself. And that is the state of Kentucky. We want to make sure we do that at a high, high level. And we're absolutely passionate about making sure that we represent the Commonwealth the right way. So appreciate your support and what you do. And in closing, thanks again for your partnership. We need you going forward, and glad, as Josh said, to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you both for being here. And you guys, both programs are, I think, a model on this. You've led from the front and led from the charge on this issue. So really appreciate the work that you all as well, and the thought that you've put in on NIL. So I'm going to open it up to the members. Looks like we have a Representative Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, gentlemen, for the update and discussion. And I really appreciate, Mr. Barnhart, you talking about the mission and what you need to do for the state of Kentucky. I appreciate it. Look, it's obviously a new world, a lot of challenges. Look, I just got a note. The men's team basketball is playing November 11th this year. Read an article in the paper yesterday speculating that with SEC changes, the football game may be at risk. I don't know if that's just newspaper speculation. I do worry about, with these added pressures financially and with the conference realignment, how do we protect some of these traditions, the rivalry, these things, this is important to the people of Kentucky and have real economic impact on our communities. Is that something on your radar or something we need to think about here as well?
No, I don't think we don't need, I will say this, I don't want to say this the wrong way, we don't need help in scheduling. I think we're good. I think Josh I don't want to speak for Josh. They're going to go to 9 games probably in their league too, so I think that's been voted in. I'm not sure. We've got an A4 component. We've got to play an A4 opponent, so that's part of it. It doesn't make a lot of sense for us to go get on a plane and fly across the country, spend $250,000 to go fly a plane with our team someplace else. We've got 180 miles down the road. It's good for both fan bases. I see no reason to challenge that unless there's some other underlying reason to do that. It's good for our communities. It's good for our financial economic structures where we all live. We know what it means for the city of Lexington to have people coming in here to eat in our restaurants and to stay in our hotels and do that, and it's good. It's what keeps college athletics strong. As you looked at the changes in the SEC as we went to a 9-game schedule, I think there was, of the rivalries they tried to preserve, they were able to preserve most of them within our league. As we did our scheduling, the schedule was very purposeful to be able to preserve the rivalries for Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina, Louisville, and Kentucky. That was very purposeful in what our league did. So the way we were structured was there was 4 games for home next year in our conference, so we can have the Louisville game on the back end of our schedule. And then going forward, we'd be 5 on the years that we are away at Louisville. We have 5 home games plugged in with 2 other non-conference to ensure that we always have 7 home games. I'm assuming Josh would be similar to that. I don't want to speak for him.
No, that's exactly it. We had these. We had a long discussion Monday in Charlotte amongst the ACC athletic directors, and very similar setup. How do we make sure that we can protect those? There's 5 ACC SEC matchups. Like Mitch said, South Carolina, Clemson, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, Florida State, Miami, Florida, us, and UK. And I'll just say it. We haven't even talked about it, and from my end, I didn't feel like I needed to, because I'm just assuming that we're going to play every year, because it's extremely important to the Commonwealth, and it's something that our fans want. It's something that our coaches want, and so expectation is for it to happen. Now we've got home and homes with some other SEC programs, and when they went to 9 games, I was worried that they're not going to play those games, and that's probably going to play out here a little bit. Yeah. But UK wasn't one of them.
Thank you.
You betcha.
Thank you for that.
You bet.
Senator Girdler.
This question is for my grandson, Brady Barnes, and it's actually for Mr. Josh. With the way that Brother Wise has changed our NIL, and we're taking care of our athletes, and we've penalized Louisville in 2013. Is that
That's when the national
Took your banner
championship.
down.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. With the way that, and this is my grandson. With the way the things are now, isn't it feasible to think that banner should go back up because of the money situation we're doing now and the things that we're allowing in athletics? And I was hoping that the NCAA and maybe even Mitch would write a letter of support for that, putting that banner back up, because it's but anyway, that is my question. Is for the
How far do we go back on all these?
yeah.
No, that's a very valid question with everything that's transpired and the changes in college athletics. And not only the changes, but just some of the recent decisions that have been handed down relative to some recent infractions cases where championships weren't taken away. And so I absolutely think it's a question that needs to be asked, and we're going through that process right now.
Thanks, Senator. Great question by your grandson also. Yeah. Representative Jackson, I know where this is going.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Josh and Mitch, for being here today. I used to think I wanted to be an athletic director at one of our universities. I wouldn't do it for any amount of money. So I have the utmost respect for you guys, and thank you for doing it with class in the state of Kentucky. And we have a good one in Bowling Green, too, and Todd Stewart at WKU. He's a good friend of mine, so I do want to mention him. But there are some negative things going on out there, and to me, I don't know, this is a rhetorical question, but are there two worse terms and phrases than NIL and transfer portal? Mm-hmm. To me, that has started the downfall of amateur athletics. And I think it started with me. I come at this as a 32-year coach and educator in high school. And so I come at this as somebody, as soon as I could walk and watch a black and white TV at home, I was watching the only Saturday afternoon game on TV, and have been a sports fan all my life. But I just feel like it started with the one and dones and then with the NIL. I thought when NIL first came out, I thought, name, image, and likeness. Maybe if a kid decides to come to UK and Don Franklin wants to get him to advertise for cars and he makes a couple $1,000s doing that, it's okay, I guess. But now they're offering kids millions of dollars before they ever sign to come to their university. So I don't know how really that is NIL other than just basically recruiting free agents to come to your school. So and then the transfer portal. Western's got a quarterback right now. He's a great young man. He's 25 years old. He's in his 7th year of college football. He's been at 5 different schools. That's not the way amateur athletics, college athletics. I remember when you had 5 years to play 4. And if you transferred, you had to sit out a year before you were eligible to play. So to me, everything that we're doing, and somebody thinks is progressing, not you guys, but somebody thinks we're making progress, to me we're going backwards as far as the mission of college athletics. It just frustrates me to no end. So I guess one question would be, do you think the TV money, the TV revenue, are they running the show now? Is that what's going on?
No, and let me respond to a couple of things, Representative Jackson. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I think that there's this notion that we have we had 530 young people in our program. And of the 530, arguably everybody's trying to participate in some way, shape, or form. But the reality of it is when you talk about revenue share and NIL, you're really talking about 150 to 175 young people that are dramatically day in and day out affected by that. You're going to have about 300 to 350 that are just walking through the experience. They don't see it a lot different than what they normally would. It looks very similar to what it was in the past in terms of that. There's some interest by our young people in NIL. I'd say that the revenue share has changed a little bit of that. Those that have gotten a part of the revenue share, which is impacted by the television money and all of those things, yes. There's sort of is not as much interest in some of that as I thought there would be. So that's one notion of it. The transfer portal that you talked about is we've reduced that in the NCAA football footprint to one window. There's now only one time you can transfer, and that is they've changed that. There was multiple windows, and so now we've got it down to one window and trying to work our way through timelines to try and tighten that up a little bit and get more consistency in what we're doing. The very situation you talked about with an older quarterback, I respect the fact that they want to have the opportunity to play because we've got a couple of people in our program in the same situation, and I respect that. At the end of the day, I also want to make sure we're really doing a good job protecting high school young people and having an opportunity because for all the people that are a little older in that thing and the opportunity for young people coming out of the high school ranks to be able to work their way through to the beginning and the learning stages of being a freshman and a sophomore and growing in the games, really, really difficult. And so I don't want to give away the high school scholastic opportunity to grow young people in sports. So we got to be super careful and find the balance in all of that. I'm hopeful with the tightening of the portal windows and the opportunities to maybe get some boundaries and some guardrails about number of years you're able to play. Is it 5 years? You have 5 years to complete your entire eligibility, 5 years of eligibility. Maybe that's where we're headed. That's the conversation. If we can get to that spot, that does a really nice job of protecting the high school kids and letting them come and grow in the program. If not, you're going to find high school young people going to different programs, gaining their ground, and then transferring again to that place. And that's the very issue that we're trying to say, okay, how do we create stability in our programming? And so a lot to bite off in that conversation, and it can go a long time. And Josh, I don't know if you've got any other thoughts on any of that.
No, I would presume if Mitch and I had this conversation, the three of us had this conversation, our thoughts would be very similar. Do I like this idea that a college student can transfer every semester or every other semester? No. But I also do think that it's provided an opportunity for us to change some things a little bit too. And I do equate it a little bit more to an environment where you've got to create a culture where kids want to stay. And so then if they are getting deals or offers thrown at them, they say, hey, maybe this school is offering me a little bit more money, but I think I have a better opportunity to succeed here, and I really like the culture here. I'm going to stay. And so how can we get rid of those inducements where, hey, they're offering $500,000, $1 million more? It's like, what are we doing? Right? And so if we can find that balance, and I think that's the biggest part in all of this. Mm-hmm. How do we find the balance? Because I don't think anybody would disagree with me when I say that the NCAA was slow to evolve. And so the pendulum was over here. And then we're talking about $1 billion industry, and it was room, books, board, tuition. And I know there's still a number of people out there who think, hey, you get a free education, that's great. That's great until you realize it's $1 billion industry. And then you've got this faction of student athletes and parents saying, well, we should get a piece of that pie. And as opposed to saying, yep, we all agree. Because I think everybody, like you just said, would probably agree to that. It was no, no, no. And then the pendulum swung over here. Mm-hmm. And we'll get it back to the middle. And you guys have helped us get it there, closer to there. And we just have to continue down that road till it makes sense for everybody.
Mr. Chair, one quick follow-up.
Briefly, please.
Thank you.
We got 4 other members.
The second thing I guess I worry about is the trickle-down effect that we're having with our high school athletics. Mm-hmm. The arms race for facilities. Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys, you probably don't like it any more than I do that you have to go out and beg, borrow, and steal millions and millions and millions of dollars to build facilities. Mm-hmm. Well, the same thing's happening at the high school level. They are trying to figure out how can we make sure that our kids don't leave to go somewhere else. And we've got 5 high schools in Warren County, and all 5 have turf football fields. I never thought I would see that. Mm-hmm. Some of our baseball fields are turf. Mm-hmm. This is in high school. Mm-hmm. So, the arms race to do that at the college level, I think, has trickled down. And the transfer rule, I think the KHSAA just this spring voted whether to let students transfer from one school to another anywhere they wanted to go, mm-hmm. with no cause, reason, anything. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness that was voted down. Mm-hmm. But so some of the trickle-down effect that college athletics, I know it starts at the pros, then college, then high school, but I think we have to take that into consideration somewhere along the way, that trickle-down effect that we're having on our young folks. But I respect what you do. Thank you very much for what you do for the state of Kentucky.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Leader-
Mr. Chairman.
Leader Wise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here. I think we all could say our universities here today are so well represented by your leadership and what you do for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Really briefly, for those members that may not be following the SCORE Act, can you just kind of give us an overview of what those conversations are you're having with the federal government right now? And if that doesn't come to fruition, are we having to look this next legislative session for continued changes that we did to Senate Bill 3, or are we in a really good place right now that we do not have to come back? And I appreciate Representative Jackson saying that, because I think that like all of us, we're very traditionalist in our sports. We can't go back and put the genie back in the bottle, because this is the time we're living in, and I don't think we're ever going to see college athletics go back to that time that it once was before. But we all want winning programs, and not to say we are a win at all costs type of schools, but at the same time, we know that right now, if we're not doing things in this space, we also can be left behind as a commonwealth of wanting to see that our universities continue to do well in all the sports, Olympic sports, female sports, so forth and so on. But if you could just give us just an insight of what the SCORE Act intentions are of that, and what that could or could not lead for us coming into January.
Yeah, go ahead, and you.
Well, so real quick, just speaking to Senate Bill 3, and obviously want Mitch to chime in at any point here if I say something incorrect or something that he doesn't agree with. I think it's where we need to be right now. I really do. And as I mentioned in my opening remarks, this idea of going down this path of trying to create competitive advantages through legislation at the state level, I'm not a fan of. I'm not a proponent of. When you look at, there's some states that have said we're not going to require student athletes to pay income tax on NIL deals. I'm sorry, but I saw that and I'm like, this is absurd. Mm-hmm. So I think if we can continue to work together and say, hey, how do we treat our student athletes fairly? That's what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I think Senate Bill 3 does that. And, could there be some changes? Potentially. But right now I think it's working as intended. And then I think the biggest thing, the most beneficial thing the SCORE Act would do is create that preemption where there's not this patchwork of state laws mm-hmm. that are governing competition that is throughout the country. I mean, we're all playing with a different set of rules, and that's not how sport was intended, right? Sport was intended for everybody to be on the field and it be equal when the game starts. And so how do we make sure that we get as close to that as possible? So the SCORE Act would provide that. Mitch talked about it a little bit earlier relative to protections and treatment of our student athletes. And I'll be the first one to admit I think it's something that this industry didn't do a very good job of as far as how do we treat our student athletes. And I think if you went to Lexington, you went to Louisville, and you asked any one of our student athletes, how's your experience been? I think 95 to 99% mm-hmm. would say it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. The fact that we have 11 mental health professionals for our 650 student athletes, I can assure you that that students on campus wish they had that kind of support. Mm-hmm. The way they travel, the coaching that we provide. I mean, these are world-class coaches. Mm-hmm. Our swim coach was the head coach of the U.S. swim team here this past summer. I know you have national coaching members on your staff. I could go on and on and on. So, protecting whether it's healthcare benefits or whatever it may be, that the SCORE Act just codifies that. So I think that's a great opportunity. And then the other thing, real quick, that it is codifying a lot of the House settlement, which is needed.
Enshrines that.
Yep. And then the last thing I would say, and I do think this is an important point, it clarifies that student athletes are not employees. Mm-hmm. And this idea that they are, I think it's inaccurate. I really do. And I know there's people that are going to argue with me on that. But I think the best example that I could use, I was just talking to somebody, and they were talking about men's basketball and football specifically, and the amount of money that is around that ecosystem in those sports. But the lady I was talking to, her daughter was actually a student athlete in a Big Ten program in an Olympic sport. And I said, so do you think your daughter should be an employee? She said, well, no. So what changed? Our field hockey student athletes, our lacrosse student athletes, our golf student athletes, they're spending as much time trying to perfect their craft as our football or our basketball student athletes. The only thing that's changed is the amount of revenue that is around those individual sports, but that doesn't mean that they're employees all of a sudden. And so I think understanding that and making sure that we define that, it's really important. And I know I give Commissioner Sankey all the credit for this quote, but he says, college athletics is uniquely American. And I don't think there's a better definition of what college athletics is. That's exactly what it is. And so when we talk about a student athlete, yes, it is hard to define because there's nobody else like them in the world where they're getting a world-class education, world-class coaching that is going to allow them to feed into our Olympic system that allows us to have the best Olympic program in the world. Yes, it is a different class of individual here, but employees, I don't believe they're that.
A couple of things just to add to that really quickly. Josh talked about the world-class athletes. You think about some of the Olympians that we've had and the people that have represented our country. And amazing, that skill set comes out of college athletics. And I think what the SCORE Act does is it enshrines the House settlement, puts us in a spot where we have a pathway and a roadway to go forward. It preempts all the state laws, as Josh said, really, really important. And I think it codifies that they're not employees, and we're working our way through that. Most of our young people, trying to preserve opportunity is really important for me. I want to talk about generational leadership. We talk about that a lot. I want to talk about generational finance. Yeah, there's pieces to that is a part of this conversation for sure. The last piece is generational opportunity. I do not want to lose opportunity for young people to play the sports that they love and that they're really, really good at. And the reality of it is this is about education and athletics. And Commissioner Sankey was right. He and I are very close friends and talk often, and obviously he's my commissioner, so I'm a little biased. I think he's the best in the deal. But at the end of the day, he said, and he's right, there is not another educational athletic system in the world. Nowhere in the world do we combine education and athletics. Nowhere in the world. This is the only place that's why there's so many international athletes trying to come to the United States to try and participate in our college athletic programs. And that's a blessing too. That provides us an absolute diversity in what we do in our programs, and they see different people and the way they train, the way they work. It's a competitive piece. It's really, really unique to what we do. There's no place in the world. We don't have athletes in this country leaving to go someplace else to learn how to compete. Everyone's coming here. And there's a reason for that. It's because of the programs that are put in place and the expertise with which they do that. And so it's at a really, really high level. And so we've got world-class coaches, world-class athletes, and the most decorated Olympian in the United States track and field was a Kentucky Wildcat, and she represented this place incredibly. She just now almost broke the 400-meter record without the hurdles. She did that with the hurdles 8 times, and she just won the world championship without the hurdles. So she's going to go try that for a while. Sydney. I don't need to mention her name. Everybody knows who Sydney is. But it's awesome. At the end of the day, the SCORE Act helps us, to be honest with you. Now, we got work to do, a lot of work to do to get it through the House, and then it has to go through the Senate clearly. So it's a long runway here.
Thank you both.
Sorry. Thank you.
All right, guys, we have 3 questions, 3 members seeking recognition. I'm going to cut this off here in about probably about 6 minutes to get our next presenter. So if we can get 3 questions in 6 minutes, let's see if we can do it. All right.
We'll do
Representative Gentry.
You do want to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you guys for being here today. And let me first say congratulations on a pretty nice start to the fall sports season for both of you. You've done quite well. Some of us do pay attention to sports outside of the football field. So,
thank you.
If I could ask, I guess the question I would like to ask more than anything, what do you see as possibly your biggest challenges as it relates to non-revenue sports? You know, I just made the comment about great strides your non-revenue sports are making so far. really as it applies to maybe Title IX, challenges, issues there, or do you really see any in the current climate and kind of where we're going? Can you speak a little bit on that? I'd hate to see sport opportunities in these areas decrease in some way, because they do a lot of good, but there's challenges when certain sports aren't bringing in revenues that other sports are. So I understand that. So anything you guys can comment in that area?
I think that when this is my 34th year in the SEC, I think 35th, something like that. Been here a while. Our league has always been about broad-based programs, and when you say broad-based, that means the breadth of activity, men and women competing at high levels. My wife was a college athlete, and I had 2 daughters who were college athletes. So I'm fully aware. My son played college golf at a mid-major. I'm fully aware of the opportunities that are needed for young people to be able to participate. And so none of them were football and basketball players, but they relied heavily on the resources of those programs to be able to provide. So we've got to find the balance of being able to have a really strong revenue-producing foundation that gives the ability to grow all of our sports programs. We've got 23 at Kentucky. That is a large number of sports programs. The average in our league is probably between 16 to 17, somewhere in that range, maybe 18. You might get to 18. We've got as large a program in terms of numbers of teams as anybody. You are seeing people across the country that are making decisions to drop programming. That is concerning. Not going to lie to you. I want to make sure that we have a broad-based program that has a depth to it that allows people to participate at a high level, both genders, in a world-class way. So that'll be our focus. I know that'll be our attention. That is the attention of our league. There is no one in our league that is saying, hey, we're committed to getting this thing down to 10 or 12 sports. We want to drop it down there. Our commitment is to try and be broad-based and fully engaged.
I don't think I could have said it any better. I think the only thing that I would add, he talked about that balance of providing the resources to try to ensure that men's basketball and football are competitive, and where it gets really hard is if those sports aren't, because that trickle-down effect impacts the other 21 sports that we have, and that's no pun intended here, that's the game that we're playing. And so how do we make sure that those sports are resourced at a really high level to be able to be as successful as they can be? Because if they're not, then everybody else is going to lose as well. And it's a tough position to be in. There's no other way to say it.
Thanks, guys, for those answers. And I'll just finish with a comment real quick. I know we're short on time here, but there's something else out there in sports that's very much on the precipice, and not a whole lot of people are paying attention to this except people like me who work in the adaptive golf industry. And University of Arizona has an adaptive golf program that is pretty special, and they're trying to get some other interest in other universities to kind of follow their pathway. I know they're getting a lot of funding for foundational type support, and we're putting full scholarships for young kids with disabilities and able to compete and pushing them toward a pathway of self-sustainability. And it's some pretty special stuff, and we're getting ready to kind of explode not only nationally but globally in the sport of adaptive golf. We use it as medicine for people with disabilities. So in the future, as this starts to evolve a little bit, I may be coming back and talking to you guys about maybe having a presence in Kentucky too. Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much for the work you do.
Yep.
Senator Boswell.
Thank you. Make this quick. As not just as a legislator, but as a fan, I would have to say I'm concerned that we are losing many of our athletes. We just get to know some of these major sport athletes. They're gone. And I'm just wondering what effect that's having on your attendance. And my last comment about that is I don't think we had a choice on the NIL bill. I think that we had to do that. But I also wonder, is that helping us to retain any of these athletes?
Well, two things. From an attendance perspective, the BBN is, and I'm biased, it's the best in the deal. We've got great fans. They're unbelievable. And so super appreciative of their support. Our season tickets are rock steady. We've got great scheduling. So there is pieces of the conversation of how do you identify or align with the individual athlete, or do you align with the individual program? And there's a little balance as a dance of dances in all of that, yes. Our basketball situation, obviously, Rupp Arena is amazing, sold out. You've got Kroger Field. We're really in a good spot there with our attendance. Women's basketball, I can talk about that. We can keep going. Josh is doing the same thing attendance-wise at his place. So I think it is – I want to make sure that we try to identify with some of our athletes, yes, but we also want to make sure that they identify with our program first, and we represent the program, and that's where the foundational piece of who we want to be in. And I think the NIL piece, going back to the second part of the question, yes, it is important. It has helped us. If we have to absolutely be in that conversation, and so you all allowed us to be in that conversation competitively, and that has allowed us to have a national presence. And so yes, super important and appreciative of that. We could not have done it without it.
Thank you.
Senator Howell, wrap us up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate y'all being here today. I appreciate the comments you made earlier about supporting your student athletes and taking care of them. It's absolutely the case, and I appreciate you touching on that. Recognizing that we're limited in some way on this, could you address some of the things that y'all are trying to do to protect student athletes and their families from, a lack of a better way of putting it, the financial vultures that come in and try to prey on people that maybe don't understand how to manage the money, have never been in those positions? We see this a lot of times on sports stories with the pro athletes, and it's got to trickle down. It's got to follow the money into college as well. Can you talk about some of the things that y'all are trying to do in that space?
I think the biggest thing that we can do is educate and provide opportunities for that education. I think where it gets difficult, especially in this rev share / NIL world, is I think there's times where those family members almost look at it as I don't want to say us against them, but they look at it like, do they really have the best interests of my child in mind? And getting them to overcome that thought, I think, is probably the biggest hurdle. Donovan Mitchell was back last weekend and had a pretty in-depth conversation with him and his agent about how can we create platforms, or how do we get people in here that have the credibility so that they can explain to them, like, hey, guys, the people in this athletic department are here to help you. And so when they're providing resources around financial literacy or investment opportunities, or education around investment opportunities, it's worth listening to them. Because I think at times it's a little bit of, well, we're not going to listen to them. We need to go get another opinion because they may not have what's in the best interest of our child in mind here. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Because at the end of the day, part of this ecosystem is these student athletes coming back. Think about the PR that we got from Donovan Mitchell spending the weekend in Louisville. Jair Alexander, defensive back, all-pro defensive back, was back a few weeks ago. Sydney. If she doesn't have a good experience at Kentucky, she's not going to talk about the University of Kentucky in a positive light. I mean, she's one of the most well-known athletes in the world. Mm-hmm. And so if we don't treat them well, that's going to impact us negatively. So just to answer your question, you name it, we're going to have the opportunity for them to talk to whoever they want to, as far as educating them on the things that they're facing right now.
And we've dovetailed into the financial literacy world. We've championed with the University of Kentucky administration. Dr. Monday is our executive vice president for finance and administration at the university. He teaches a class for our young people on financial literacy, and then we give them a Fidelity-free account. They've got an account where they can come in and they can get a fee-free account at the University of Kentucky for investment purposes. But to Josh's point, many times, and you all know this from your own families and people, experts are afar. The people that are closest to you don't think are expert enough, and they don't listen. So they're going to go someplace else to get their information. And the people closest maybe know what's going on pretty well, but they don't really. Experts, you need to go get a second opinion, right? We do that a lot. So we find that in our industry a lot, I think. But they do financial literacy. We do work really hard at that. But to your point, yes, very true.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Not only for being here today, but your work in the NIL space and being proactive on the legislation. And I think probably speak for a lot of the members here, most of the members, if not all. Anything we can do to ever help, please let us know. So thank you all.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right. Final item on the agenda, Goodwill, Kentucky Excel Center. If you all could make your way. All right, thank you all for being here today. I want to remind you, make sure the mics are pulled up and little green lights on. If you could, please state your names for the record. Pull a little closer, Mark.
No, pull it a little closer. There it goes. Wasn't on.
There
All
you
right.
go. All right.
So I'll try again. So I'm Mark Homan. I'm the CFO for Goodwill, Kentucky, and the superintendent of this school.
My name is Viviana Anderson, and I'm a student at the Excel Center.
I'm Marcia Berry, and I'm the director of the Excel Center.
Well, thank you all for being here. We'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Chairman Branscombe, Co-Chairman Wheeler, and the rest of the committee. I appreciate you all. One, for the support. That's the first thing we want to talk about is say thank you. Two, share results. And the third thing is just talk about ways we can further the Commonwealth with education. And I'm most excited to hear Viviana speak. So I only have 4 slides, so you can talk through that. First, we're going to frame the problem set. This is the number of students Kentuckians who don't have a high school diploma, almost 370,000. The part that is important to me and why I wanted to be part of this school and take this role in addition to my regular job is the children of these 370,000 Kentuckians are much more likely, twice as likely, to not get a high school diploma themselves. So it's multi-generational work that we're doing. The bottom charts wouldn't surprise anyone in this room. Unemployment rate nationally, it's double. We don't have Kentucky figures, but you can infer that it would be almost 10% unemployment rate for students, for people who do not have a high school diploma in Kentucky. Obviously, workforce participation is going to be lower. It's 15 points lower nationally. Likely that's the case. Maybe it's in the mid to low 40s in Kentucky. And thirdly, the far right chart is a Kentucky median earnings number. So there's a $9,000 difference between someone who just has a diploma, someone who doesn't have a diploma, and someone who does. Okay, so what we do, we are the Excel Center Kentucky, and it is a tuition-free adult high school. It was started by the Goodwill in Indiana in 2010. This is a national movement. Now it's into 12 states, including a prison in Austin, Texas. We have 49 schools across the country. This school was established here in Kentucky by the General Assembly, so thank you. And it's been administered by the Kentucky Department of Revenue and Dr. Berry, who's our director. We combine, similar to what our first speaker talked about, soft skills, wraparound support, coaching. All of our students have a life coach. And so this model that we have, which is called an Opportunity Center, maybe some in your communities. I hope there is. There's 12 across the Commonwealth from Pikeville to Paducah. And that's kind of our model for deploying poverty reduction services. And again, our mission is to help Kentuckians find pathways out of poverty. I think this is one of the most effective ways we do that. So this is our model, which again, this is similar to the national model, and we have that central office support in Indianapolis that can try out ideas. We go to a national conference and bring those ideas back to Kentucky, and then of course, Dr. Berry will share that we're number one in one aspect, and so we've been recognized nationally for our work here in Kentucky. So free childcare, this is run by the YMCA. It's similar to the childcare that maybe our children got. When my wife and I were working, they get that readiness, and then they're ready for kindergarten. Viviana's 10-month-old and 3-year-old are getting that every day. And we have flexible scheduling, morning, afternoon, and then to reach out to more people, we're adding some evening classes who are people who are working. Also, these are accelerated courses, so it's 8-week courses. We have small class sizes, so teachers can kind of look over people's shoulders and help them with algebra or polynomials and binomials, things that are very difficult to do on your own. toward getting that Kentucky diploma, which is 20 credits. Again, I'll say that life coaching is a very key part of this. What Goodwill Kentucky specializes in is in barrier reduction. So we, again, spend that $20 million, and we understand that it does take a long time to intervene. It's about 23 months for someone to go from, whether it's coming out of incarceration or addiction recovery, 23 months to get to stability, to self-sufficiency, which is our goal. So, and then let's talk about the stats, and this is my last slide before Viviana. The impact, Notre Dame, Goodwill, the national office commissioned a study with the Lab for Economic Opportunity, and they looked longitudinally at students because they have some good data from 2010. 40% more likely, 40% increase in earnings post their graduation, 11% more likely than their peers to be employed. So the chart on the right, the top right is wages. You can see people who decided to enroll versus those that didn't. There's a big variance between those folks, similar to what we see in Kentucky. Graduates are less likely to be incarcerated, and if you want to go on to post-secondary education, which I believe Viviana is going to tell us about in a moment, 40% of those graduates do, and of those people, almost 75%, more than 75% continue to persist at KCTCS and other secondary institutions around the state. So I will pass it on to Viviana.
I enrolled in the Excel Center to complete my high school diploma. I was in foster care, but I was not able to finish it. I currently live in Richmond, so I travel with like my 2 kids from like Richmond to Louisville every day, like to complete the classes I need to graduate. At first, I was nervous. To be like around new people, but like despite despite the long drive, the staff and the students, like they support you in like so many ways, and they encourage you. People that you don't know, they believe in you and they support you in like so many ways. Not they only support you academic, but they support you like in and out of the classroom and whatever you need, and they help me with my kids. So that's a great opportunity for me to have a second chance to do this and to be the first one in my family to get my diploma. So, and I believe in opening more so it can be easy for me and other people that like is trying to get something, and it will like help other people that cannot come to Louisville or stuff like that, or like to travel every day. And it will like open doors and a bright future for the people. And I would like to like, when I finish with my high school diploma, I would like to seek my career in welding and law enforcement. And I'm on track on completing my casework by the end of November. And yeah, so they like help you in so many ways. After your diploma, they still help you and they keep in touch with you. It's an amazing program, and I'm glad I was able to find it because my GED was not working. But this right here, I'm actually learning because everything I'm learning, I didn't got the chance to learn. So yeah, I'm grateful.
And Viviana's especially grateful if you caught. She lives in Richmond, Kentucky, and goes to Louisville every day. So Frankfurt was on her way. So thank you for having your meeting here. Next, I'm going to talk about a report that I produce for the Commonwealth of Kentucky each year. This is from our last school year, which ended June 2025. And our average, these metrics were also established by the Commonwealth, that our average student enrollment is 209. This was for last year. We actually had 470 unique enrollments, but the average, which is divided by terms, is 209. For the year, there were 76 graduates. So in June 2025, 76 graduates walked across that stage. They had finished terms in between and came back to walk. And that's at a 36% of our average enrollment, which, as you can see, is above the goal. And then the percentage of students who get a credential is 100%. We really talk about that. As you can tell, Viviana has talked about this for months, about what she wants to do, and may have changed her mind a time or two, but she's on track. We're ready to rock and roll with her. And then the percentage of graduates that have either gone to work, applied for secondary schooling, whether that's a credential or in college after they graduate, we're at about 64% for last year's class. And 100%, somebody mentioned soft skills, so it's that employment readiness that we provide in a class called Senior Seminar, mock interviews, soft skills, resume writing, your career goals, your vision, and thinking about, you do a presentation on what I want to do when I get out of high school. So we've got you thinking about it so that you can continue on that pathway. Next slide is, where are we going? So we're in Louisville, and you can see the statistics of the population in Jefferson County without a high school diploma. As we look across the state, so we can provide services to other Kentuckians, you can see Lexington, Bowling Green, and Somerset on here. We haven't settled on any place in particular, but it does seem like Lexington is the next biggest, just to say that. So how does Kentucky fit in? Well, the 2024 budget for the General Assembly appropriated $2 million in each fiscal year for our operations. The actual direct costs are about $2.3 million, and that doesn't include any overhead or indirect costs, capital expenses. And the advantage of having Goodwill operate in Louisville is that we're able to absorb that overhead. Mark mentioned the opportunity centers. That's even above and beyond what we can provide, as whether you're in Louisville or you're out in the state, to continue to assist you on your journey for barrier removal and employment. And we'd like to expand in communities, obviously. It'd be an estimated $5.4 million might be in each fiscal year needed. It's a one-time appropriation of approximately $3 million for upfit of a second location. And what's the increase? Well, part of it is an increase in wages, especially to teachers. As you know, there's a shortage probably in most schools around the state, so we're looking at that. And additional outreach for underserved populations. So we've had an individual that mentioned, hey, you serve more women than men, and they're right. We were at about 80-20. Currently, we're at about 69-31%, meaning female to male. And so we want to be able to reach out, continue reaching out, but reach out even more focused as we open operations, or even in Louisville, to serve more underserved populations. And now, do you have any questions for us?
Senator Boswell.
Thank you. This is very concerning when you see 369,000 students that don't have a high school education. And I can't keep from wondering, how are we letting these students slip away from us in our various school districts around the state? And so do you have any information about where the majority of these students are? I mean, who is failing these kids? You used to, like years ago, when back in the old days, the schools kept up with these kids. And there was a concerted effort to try to get them back in school and not to have them suspended and whatever. It just seems like we've lost our way.
Yeah, I don't know the exact data. I can look that up for you. I do know, kind of serendipity, the stories are here from our students that have come to the Excel Center, and they dropped out. There are barriers in life that caused them to drop out when they were 18. And so we serve, if you're 18 or over, average age is about 31 to 32, median age is 29 that we serve. And so you know that we have a variety of students that maybe dropped out of high school, wait a few years, and when we opened up, took the opportunity to come back.
Thank you. I would like to know at some point, maybe you may not have those numbers. I would like to know where these people come. I'm from Davis County, Davis, Hancock, and our numbers I don't think are that high.
Okay.
So maybe you have some information about where all these 369,000 people are coming
I think
from.
Viviana wants to tell you her story.
Sometimes we don't have the support, or they don't tell us how education is so important to us, and like we should finish. We don't have nobody to push us, so we lack of like support and yes.
Yeah.
Senator Funky Fromeyer.
Viviana, you're very brave. Good job. I wanted to ask about Northern Kentucky statistics. I see that you noted we're probably the largest population next to Jefferson County. What are the statistics in Northern Kentucky? And also the value that you could provide. Could you stretch $1 a little further with coordination with KCTCS schools? In Northern Kentucky, I've got Gateway Community and Technical College and a little bit of space. I also have Northern Kentucky University and a little bit of space. So can we do this more and manage our dollars a little tighter?
Thank you for asking about that. Goodwill Industries of Kentucky is about goodwill of 80% of Kentucky. And unfortunately, that Northern Kentucky, Covington, Newport, Florence, kind of that belongs to the Goodwill that operates out of Cincinnati, Ohio. So if we got their permission, absolutely we could do the same thing. And that doesn't mean we wouldn't. We just don't want to assume and put statistics on that.
But
more to come.
We do know the CEO. Mark, I was in South Bend actually at a conference, and Mark, who's the CEO, they do want to pursue this. They haven't. He's kind of relatively new, and they need to really get their retail operation in line so that can be that unrestricted revenue like we have to support. But they're still sort of building, so they're not really as strong as Goodwill Kentucky. So that's a short answer. I would love to take those counties on so we could operate it, because people kind of complain about the Northern Kentucky stores. We don't have influence because we have a Kentucky-based board, so we don't have influence.
Let me know how I can help.
I will.
We will.
But KCTCS we are meeting with BCTCS soon to talk about that continued partnership, and we would love to. Ryan Quarles we're very close with him.
Yes.
He's that partnership's very important.
Representative King.
Thank you. Do you all have or track data on the migrant or citizen status of the students that are going through your program? And
yes, so when the prospective student comes in for our orientation, we ask them for a state issue ID. So we get IDs or passport or whatever is available from them, and a piece of mail showing that they're a Kentucky resident. That can be a utility bill, et cetera. Is that the question you were asking?
Well, it's kind of a follow-up for Senator Boswell's question of who are the 370,000 coming in? Are they migrants coming into Kentucky needing a good education, or have they been going through our K-12 system as citizens?
I think mostly through the K-12 system as citizens. These are Kentuckians.
Okay. If you have data on that, would you please email it to the chair?
I sure will.
Thank you.
I'll drill down and do that.
Thank you, Chair.
Yep.
Senator Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your presentation today and the job you guys are doing in this. I'm a real big fan of Goodwill, especially in the Bowling Green area where I come from. Mm-hmm. And I participated not long ago in the program they put on about people getting out of prison and, trying to get back into society and the workforce. And I kept ending up back in jail. So in that, and it was a real eye-opener for me in regards to that. And I really believe in the mission of Goodwill. We donate quite frequently to Goodwill. And what you're doing, I'm glad to hear you have a partnership with KCTCS, because they're doing a good job at this, and we are funding them quite extensively. Also, Adult Ed, do you have a partnership with them, because they're involved in this very same thing?
We do.
In regards to that. So I'd be curious as to how many, that they are reaching in regards to this, of all those that do not have a degree, and how do you go about recruiting your students?
So social media helps, but we are at events across the community. So this last weekend we were at Park Duval at an event. I've been to the Norton Sports and Learning Center for a wellness event. We set up tables. hand out postcards. There's so many events, I can't name them all or we'd be here for a while. But yes, so we do boots on the ground, reaching out to people to let them know that we exist, and also our website, our social media, etc.
What about adult ed, which we do fund as well?
So Ashley Janicki is the leader of adult ed in Jefferson County. She and I work together that if there is someone that she thinks would do better at the Excel Center, she refers, and I do the same, because we do have individuals that come in that say, we're 8-week terms, and depending upon your transcript and when you dropped out, you may be with us for a while getting the credits that you need to graduate in Kentucky. And so some students are like, oh, no, I want to take that test. And so I have picked up the phone and helped that student refer to the GED program in Louisville, in Jefferson County.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I want to thank you all for being here today. Excellent presentation. Thank you for everything Goodwill is doing across the state, and we do appreciate it. Great presentation, and Viviana, excellent job.
Thank
Glad
you
to
so
have you here
much.
today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Any member seeking recognition? All right, there being no further business.